What's going on, guys? What's going on? You guys hear me? All right, thanks, James. How's everybody doing? What's up, James? What's up, Devin? Jason, Tori, Sir Dave, Randy. Jonathan Gates, welcome. Everybody ready for tomorrow? Time to rock and roll. I'm going to give it another moment, and I'm going to basically go over, obviously, all the players I recommended this week that I have my eyes on. And then, of course, discuss, there's a lot of games that are going to be very, very close tomorrow, which there's going to be some value in some areas, as far as those games. And I actually like a couple of games that I'm going to actually have exposure to where they're going to be, there's some really, really good possibilities in 3 games tomorrow as far as getting a number of value in those games, players that are definitely going to be very much involved in the outcome of those games. And I could be able to pay up and get some studs somewhere else because I'm going to save a lot of money. Was it you, Tori, that brought up last week the Robbie Anderson? Because I was having a conversation with Sir Dave late Sunday evening. And I was saying to myself, somebody in the live chat, in the live show on Saturday night mentioned something about Robbie Anderson having a big game. And I couldn't remember who that person was. So now that Tori is bringing it up, was it you, Tori, that made that call last week on Robbie Anderson, man? If you did, man, damn, I did not jump on that one at all. What's going on, Mike? Yeah, Jets, man. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We should do good tomorrow at home. The Jets should do okay. That's a very interesting game. That's one of the games I'm going to mention here in a little bit that we can get some nice value from. At the same time, it could be a good game to stack on, to be totally honest with you. You could probably stack 4 or 5 players from that game and actually do very well because that game, the highest price player on that game is Andrew Luck, and he's only 7,800, so you don't got no major stud prices there. So you could definitely gauge that game as a possible game stack if you really wanted to take a little bit of risk and play a couple of lineups. I'm definitely gonna have at least 2 lineups I'm planning to put on there, not in the millionaire tournament, but definitely in some others where I'm gonna target about 5 players from this game and hope to have a nice good game, nice close game, put up some nice fantasy points, and I'm gonna be able to pay up in some other spots with some studs in some other games. Screenwriting books, welcome. James Giants. So yeah, the Giants are looking pretty bad, man. Oh my God. They're looking pretty bad, and unfortunately, man, their best player happens to be a rookie. Can you believe that? Their best player on that offensive team, hands down, after seeing what Barkley has done in his first 5 games in the NFL, or 6 games in the NFL, it's been truly amazing, man, how good this kid is. But I did watch him over his last couple of years at Penn State, and he was pretty darn good. And so he didn't surprise me, but but at the same time, he's just really looks so comfortable out there. So they definitely got a nice pick there. The biggest mistake the Giants did is they obviously got rid of the guy that was been with them the last few years. That could have been this kid Webb could have been possibly quarterbacking. Now, I mean, hey, Eli, we got to give Eli some sort of credit. I mean, he is getting old. There's no doubt about it. He's ready to retire. But this is a two-time Super Bowl champion. He's been to the Super Bowl twice, and both times he's won. So, hey, you know what? You got to give it to him. Or actually, I think he's been there 3 times. But he did win 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, starting 5, man. That is a great point you just brought up there. Just imagine if Cleveland was able to get that 2 and 3. Jeez, man. To have Barkley and to have Baker Mayfield, they would have been in a really, really good spot right now, the Cleveland Browns. No doubt about it. All right, man. So let me just go over the plays I gave you guys this week. Everybody that I talked about, I pretty much still am on, other than maybe Jordan Howard. I am overlooking a little bit the Cohen situation with the Chicago Bears, but I would say that he's not my top choice there. He'll be someone that I will probably replace. I really want to add in there, and I brought him up in a cash game, and that was Joe Mixon. I really like Joe Mixon tomorrow. So, I would probably recommend him more, obviously, than Jordan Howard of the Bears. So, other than Jordan Howard, everybody else that I pretty much mentioned this past week is still in play. At quarterback, I still like Ryan. I still like Cousins and Winston. I think they're all in good shape there. At running back, like I said, Carsons and Connor definitely in play. I'm definitely going to replace Howard with Mixon as my top 3. With the wide receivers, the receivers still like Julio Jones in his matchup. Definitely love Deshaun Jackson in his matchup. And I'm still on Boyd because you're definitely going to have somebody from Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bengals will put up some points tomorrow. And then at tight end, I still like Hooper. I still like C.J. Uzuma. And I still like Mr. Cameron Brate for Tampa Bay. On the cash plays, I mentioned Watson, Gurley. I did mention Mixon, as well as Thielen for the wide receivers, and Ebron and Njoku. And I still definitely like all those guys. I mean, Ebron has got a little bit of a shin issue or something like that, but I think he's going to play. And then the defenses, I still like Chicago and Baltimore. They're the best ones, but there are a couple of teams that could be a little sneaky here. That can get you some points, and they could be a little bit cheaper. So, but that's where I'm at with everybody. Pretty much all those guys are in play. As far as the game stacks, I did do a game stack video, and I pretty much explained the 2 teams that I really like, the 2 games that I really like tomorrow. Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and of course Pittsburgh, Cincinnati are definitely my favorite game stacks. But like I just said a few moments ago, there's a couple of games that are going to be really interesting for me as far as finding some value. There are some games that you can target tomorrow as a game stack. And the first one is this one right here, the Indianapolis Colts with the Jets tomorrow, my New York Jets. I like this game. I could see myself grabbing I could easily grab 2 Jets and 3 Colts. And I feel pretty good about it. I could take Andrew Luck. You could go with a Luck. You can go in there with a Grant, possibly Chester Rogers. And then you can throw in the Jets with a Bilal Powell. If he is replacing Isaiah Crowell tomorrow, he's going to probably get the brunt of the work in the backfield. And then I would definitely throw in there Robbie Anderson, as well as maybe even Quincy Enunwa. And now you got yourself at least 5 players out of that game, and you're going to have more than enough money to go and pay up somewhere else. And especially if you go with a mid-tier defense, you could actually go with Baltimore's defense at $4,000 here on Fanduel, and you'll be all right. The other game that I think would be a nice game to target, as far as the factors that the players are fairly cheap. The Chicago-Miami game could be a nice game also to target as a game stack, simply because, as you can see here, the player with the highest price is Mr. Mitch Trubisky at $7,400. So imagine you take Trubisky and then look at what you're working with below here. You could get yourself Mr. Allen Robinson to have correlation there, and then you throw in Mr. Cohen, the running back, and he is at what, 5,900. Then you could go to Miami and you could get there Mr. Stills, possibly maybe Mr. Albert Wilson. It doesn't look pretty on paper, but you know what? You got 5 players. If this game stays somewhere near where they're projecting it to be, I mean, this one has implied totals of 20, 45, 46. With Chicago only favored by, Chicago's favored only, I think they're only favored by 1 or 2. Chicago is favored by 2. Matter of fact, I could double check it here and check the latest lines. And let's see. Yeah, I believe the Bears are still favored by 2. They're actually favored now live by 4. All right. That's still within my spread. I don't know if you guys have listened to any of my videos as of late, but I when it comes to game stacking or coming to games that I want to target, obviously I want to keep the spread low. I don't want large spreads. I prefer obviously the implied totals to be higher, but this one is not too bad, and I can still see where you can come here and you can grab 4 or 5 players from here and still have over 7K on average, maybe even as much as 7,400, and you could be able to pay up in some of the more higher implied total games like the Pittsburgh game, the Atlanta Tampa Bay game. You can go that route. I could really see that. Another game that I think is a good one to target tomorrow as a possible game stack as far as low value plays, you got yourself the Seattle-Oakland game with the top player here is 7,600 is Russell Wilson, and you can actually slap him in there in the lineup right away. And you got also Derek Carr. It's not a bad play at all. He's 6,900. He's $700 cheaper than Russell. And you can actually have some correlation with him with Marshawn Lynch going back to play against his former team. So you got that little revenge game narrative there. You could get Carr, Lynch, and you can throw in there maybe Jared Cook, who gets more than enough targets, but I mean, he's a little bit choppy, you know, as far as he's not definitely a cash play. He's definitely GPP. But then you could throw in there Jordy Nelson. I think he's a little bit, his price is pretty good, and he has some upside. So you got Jordy Nelson. So you can do a correlation of Nelson, Carr, and Mr. Marshawn Lynch. And then you can come around and throw in the other running back, Chris Carson, which I think is going to do well here tomorrow. And then you can throw in maybe Seattle's Baldwin or possibly Tyler Lockett or both. And now you got 5 players there in that one game. And you're going to have more than likely about $7,500 per player left. So there's ways you can go. You know, there's ways you can go, and the same thing is the reversal. It's no different there. You can go with the high implied total games that are going to have some stud players in the 8,000 range, and you can still make a 4 or 5 player lineup there, and then you just go and get those values in the Chicago-Miami game and the same games I just mentioned. So that's a couple ways we can go for those who want to mix things up. So you can actually, with the game stacks, so you can go Tampa, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, highest implied total games, fairly close as far as the spread is concerned. And then you get your values from the Jet game. If it's Tampa, Atlanta, obviously that game there, I'd be totally honest with you, I am not in favor of any of the running backs there. Freeman is out. I'm not big on T. Coleman, especially at 6,300. I'd rather get those running back. I'd rather go and get Chris Carson and even Marshawn Lynch from over here if I needed to, or get Cohen from the Chicago Bears and then pair him up with Chris Carson and utilize those 2 guys as my running backs while I get everything else that I need from this game. And the same thing for Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. But I think in the Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, like I said in my video, I like the factors of utilizing both of these backs in this game. And as you can see, their prices are pretty steep. Then you're going to have to get that value somewhere else, and it's going to have to come out of the tight end and maybe the flex spot or possibly a receiver. And that's where you can go to those same games I just mentioned. Seattle, Oakland, you got Baldwin there at a reasonable price. You got Jordy Nelson. You can come to the Jet game. You can get Robbie Anderson, you know, who's pretty respectable, Chester Rogers. They're all under 6K. Cowboy defense. James. Tight end, David Njoku, yes. He's one of my favorite tight ends, man. I think, I mean, I've said it already, a few videos already into the year. I said it the first video of the year. I said it when I took him in the second or third week of the season, and I did mention him again this week. I think, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time when this guy is going to be getting consistently, 8, 10 targets a game, and he's going to be productive. And, he's just so athletic. He's in great shape. He's physical. He can break tackles. He's very good in the open field, and he's not afraid to get himself a little dirty, I mean, he's willing to make go the extra mile. Chiefs and Patriots. Yeah, James, that's a high implied total game. Unfortunately, it's not on the main slate. But if you're looking for that Sunday, Monday, yeah, that might be that's definitely a game you should target for a couple of players. All right, Randy Friddle. I'm going to try to get back here a little bit because I've been just shooting my mouth off, and I'm not looking at some of the actual questions. So Tyler Boyd or Deshaun Jackson. Okay, wow. I like both of those guys. I don't know if you saw my wide receiver video, but I got them both as 3 guys, 2 out of the 3 that I favor this week that I'm going to have some exposure to. And I believe right now at the moment I have more exposure to Deshaun Jackson at the moment with my lineups. But I always do a review after I do this show. I normally spend another hour or so before I go to bed tonight, and then I double check again an hour and a half before game time tomorrow to make sure there's not any other changes I need to make. So right now at the moment, I love both of those guys for tomorrow. They're both in favorable matchups, and they both should do well. But if you had a choice, either one, you'd be fine. I don't see no reason why Tyler Boyd is not going to get any targets tomorrow, that he's not going to be involved in the offense, and I don't see no different for Deshaun Jackson. I do believe that Deshaun Jackson is just a little bit more explosive as far as big play ability. He's proven that over his 9-10 year career. I think it's about 8 or 9 years now. So, I will probably favor him at the moment. James Perkin, yeah, David Njoku definitely in play for me. I definitely love him. Cowboy defense for James. Yeah, I know you love the Cowboys. Yeah, the Cowboys defense, the front 4 of the Cowboys and their linebacking crew is not too bad at all. I mean, but I like Jacksonville's receivers tomorrow. So cheap, as you can see here. Cole, Westbrook, Moncrief. I mean, what a game you can target where you have the most expensive player in the slate is Ezekiel Elliott, and he's the best player that Dallas has. He's going to have to be everything again this coming week for Dallas to at least stay competitive in this game against Jacksonville. Ezekiel Elliott is going to have to, run well between the tackles, and he's going to have to also go out there and get some targets out of the backfield, So tough matchup. Tough matchup for the Cowboys at home against Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville is nothing to be scary about, but they definitely utilize all their players. When it comes to offensively, everybody has a contribution. Cole, Westbrook, Moncrief, they've all been involved. And then at running back, they're going to have a workhorse tomorrow. TJ Yeldon's going to have to get a lot of carries. And he's going to get some checkdowns. He's going to definitely get the ball and a lot of targets. So tough matchup, man. I don't know about Dallas as actual defense tomorrow, but they can. And if you're gonna base it on the 4 o'clock slate, then I would say, okay, fine. I wouldn't mind throwing the Dallas defense as one of the defenses for the 4 o'clock slate. But for the main slate, I think you're better off going with Baltimore in a low-scoring game against Tennessee, and being, to me, in my opinion, the second best team defensively in the NFL. And then, of course, you got Chicago versus Miami. I think they'll be able to get a couple fantasy points for us over there as well. The Lynch revenge. Yeah, Marshawn Lynch going back, he's playing in Oakland, but going up, actually not playing in Oakland. He's playing for Oakland now. That game is actually in London tomorrow. So Seattle and Oakland, yeah, but he's going up against his former mates. So it should be, you got that revenge game situation there. I don't know, I still, that's going to be an interesting game. That's why I say that I think that game is not a bad game because of the pricing on the players, that you could actually game stack that game. That game should be fairly close. Seattle is not that bad defensively, man. They lost a lot of key players, and they're still there. I think they're like 12th. Actually, I'm looking at my sheet right now. They're 12th in total defense, 9th in the pass They definitely struggle against the run, so that's where there is an advantage for Marshawn Lynch, at least as far as those stats are concerned. But overall defense, Seattle's doing okay, man, especially against the pass, only ninth in the NFL. Cook versus the Cardinals. Where's Arizona? Minnesota. Man, that's, the Cardinal game is going to be a the Cardinals, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know what to say about the Cardinals, man. They definitely are not that bad of a team. I mean, they started off the year really, really shaky offensively. I think they're starting to get themselves together now. This is a tough matchup for them going into Minnesota. Minnesota is pretty tough at home, and they got all those weapons, man. This is why I like Cousins. He's going to definitely have a bounce-back game here tomorrow. But as far as Dalvin Cook, man, I don't know. This guy's been like so banged up. He was so good in college, but he's been banged up quite a bit in the pros, man, Dalvin Cook. So we'll see. I mean, if he plays, I mean, I'm sure he's going to get most of the snaps in the backfield. They will be, obviously, maybe a good 20% or 15% of the snaps going to be over to Latavius Murray. But Dalvin Cook is going to get some touches tomorrow. I just don't know how well he's going to play against Arizona. I think Arizona's defense is not too bad up front. And then, they got the best, one of the best corners, cover corners in the NFL in Patrick Peterson. But my concerns more are not so much concerns, but I believe that Minnesota, as far as just Adam Thielen, in that slot position, is just going to really tear up Arizona, man. That's the big. I think Diggs is going to be the one that's going to be more neutralized. And then you got those little sneaky guys there, man, and Mr. Treadwell. Don't sleep on the Bengals defense. Yeah, Bengal defense, I mean, I don't know. Listen, I mean, Pittsburgh's offense is pretty good. I mean, if they go out and they definitely utilize James Conner the same way they did last week, and granted, Cincinnati's defense is just a little bit better than Atlanta's as far as overall defense and against the run, but James Conner is a really, really big part of the success for Pittsburgh tomorrow, in my opinion. They need to run him between the tackles. They need to not only get him established and get him going on the ground game, but most importantly, that opens up everything else, man. The play action opens up the field for Ben Roethlisberger to hit some of the smaller passes to V-Mac or maybe Jesse James, and then obviously that'll open up the doors for everything else with Juju and AB. But if they don't get James Conner going between the tackles and at least running the ball a little bit, they're going to find themselves because Cincinnati's very vulnerable against the run, and they're very vulnerable against dual threat backs that actually go out for passes. And this is where I think is going to be the big difference here. If Conner can establish himself here and the Pittsburgh can get out and not only establish a run, but get in the end zone early on, it's going to definitely open the doors for James Conner to have a great game. But Cincinnati, I mean, vice versa, the same thing with Cincinnati. We know Pittsburgh is really struggling in a lot of areas as far as defensively. This is where I really like Joe Mixon. I really like the whole idea of Tyler Boyd and, of course, A.J. Green. But I think Boyd is going to have a good game, and I really think that Joe Mixon is going to be really in the same position as Pittsburgh with James Conner. They really need to get him going between the tackles first. Yeah, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati always plays good games, even throughout the years in the playoffs, and Pittsburgh usually has gotten the best of them, man. And this game, man, it's such a big game for both teams. Pittsburgh is 2-2-1, right? I mean, if they lose this game, they're gonna go to 2-3-1, and Cincinnati will be 5-1, and they'll have a 3-game lead on them. So that's that's enough for them to have some motivation. If Pittsburgh is not motivated to come in here and beat Cincinnati, and then Cincinnati has got to look at it as like, hey, we have a chance now to take a 3-game lead on our arch rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And those Ohio fans and those Pennsylvania fans, football is like life in Ohio and in Pennsylvania. They're like two of the biggest states other than Texas, I would say, and maybe even Florida or California, that football is huge, and again, this is a big game, man. So I like the whole idea that the game is high implied, is within the 5-point spread, and at the same time, both teams know that this is an important game. So it's like a playoff game in just the 6th week of the season. So I look forward to that game. Julio Jones. Yeah, Julio Jones is definitely in play, man. I mean, Tampa Bay is coming in as like pretty much the worst team in every aspect defensively. Other than they've played only 4 games. They had to bye, so they have a little leeway there as far as the running game. They're like 3rd or 4th in the NFL right now, at least statistic-wise, as far as net yards. But that's going to all change, and this game is not going to be a running game. This game is all about the pass offenses for both of these teams when it comes to Tampa Bay, Atlanta. They're just so vulnerable in the pass game. And whoever falls behind, if whoever scores first, the other team is going to go right after. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Is Pittsburgh Cincy a stack? Yes. I love the whole idea of a game stack between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I believe so. Again, like anything, listen, you guys all know we discuss this every weekend, and I always preach implied totals are important. We always want to try to gauge. We always want to target those kind of those kind of games, and those kind of players in those games. But at the same time, man, any given Sunday, anything can happen. We had high implied totals last week. I was all over and in love with the Oakland Charger game. And what happened? 53-54. I think it was 53 or 54 implied total to start that game. And the game ended up 26-10, I think it was, 36. So a total of 36. That was a big, big hit for not only for me, because, all my 4 o'clocks got destroyed when I lost Cooper Kupp and Mr. Cooks from the Rams at one game. And then in the other game, I was all over Matt Breida, and he got hurt, and I was screwed. So I lost out big at 4 o'clock. I knew as soon as those guys went down that I was done for the 4 o'clock slate. But you can see that these things happen, man. You have high implied total games, and they just don't come through. This is why the game's got to be played, and anything can happen any given day, and that's for any sport. And if you watch sports long enough, you'll know that that is absolutely true. Anything can happen any given day or any given Sunday, in this case for football. And tomorrow, that game, who knows? It can end up, Pittsburgh-Cincinnati may end up being another, 20-10 game. Somebody may have a great, great defensive scheme but all indications as far as statistical data is concerned is pretty much saying that this game should be in that high 20s, possibly in the 30s. So I'm expecting that to be the case. But again, anything can happen. It's a great game to target. It's a great game to game stack. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes you just don't know. It just doesn't pan out. Neely, Rodgers. Yeah, I believe so. They're going up against my Jets. I will not, as a Jet fan, I don't want them to. But as a DFS player, I'm gonna have some exposure to them, because I just finished saying that I'm willing to game stack that game, because I think it's it's gonna be a competitive game. We got Andrew Luck again. Like I said before about this game, what I love the most is that your highest priced player is Andrew Luck at 7,800. And look at all the guys you have at 6 or lower in this matchup. So you can stack up Quincy Enunwa. You can get Chester Rogers, and you can get Robbie Anderson here. There goes your receivers. You go and get, I will not take any of the running backs here unless I know for sure Crowell is out, and then maybe I might have a little exposure to Bilal Powell. And then I would definitely throw in Andrew Luck as my quarterback, and maybe even turn around and do another lineup and make sure that I have my rear end covered here with Sam Darnold, and having correlation with him and his two receivers, and then all that savings that I got, which would be about maybe 7,000 and change per player, I could utilize in these games like Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, or Tampa Bay, Atlanta, or maybe the Rams, Denver, where are some of the higher implied total games where you can get a nice stud or two. So Chester Rogers, yes, absolutely. Chester Rogers is someone that I believe is a nice play tomorrow against the Jets. Now, granted, the Jets defense is not too bad, but again, anything can happen, and you have to keep that in mind. What about Mike Evans? I love Mike Evans as well. I'm just, in my video earlier this week, I pointed out that I think that all the Tampa Bay players, receivers, they got a lot of targets. That's one of the reasons why they got 360 somewhat yards per game, which will change a little bit as we go here, because that all happened early on in the year when they had Fitzpatrick all on fire. But Jameis Winston's going to do a fine job, and he has a great connection with Mike Evans. This is a great game for Mike Evans. I mean, he's a tall target. He's someone that Jameis Winston is very comfortable with. I went with Deshaun Jackson simply because of the price point being about 11 or 1,200 cheaper than Mike Evans, but also that he has big play ability. Deshaun Jackson, he's capable of catching a ball at the 50, breaking a tackle or two, and just exploding and taking it home to the house and make a 50-yard play. That's what makes him so appealing to me tomorrow, is that I think he could be able to do that against Atlanta. Yeah, the Jets have their corners are hurt. Gurley's going to be a rock star tomorrow. Yeah, Todd Gurley, man, is good to go. I mean, he's good to go even with those guys right now. The concussion protocol for Cooper Kupp as well as Cooks, they're good to go. I believe they're going to play. I would have loved that play even more so if one of those guys would have been out. But in this matchup here, he's still going to get his regular workload. I don't see no different there. So he's probably still good for 20 to 26 fantasy points tomorrow against Denver. I do like Denver's running game to be able to be a surprise in this game here against the Rams. The Rams have been a little vulnerable to some of the running backs, so I kind of like Mr. Lindsey here as a possible little sleeper, a little sneaky play here, even though he's at about 6,100 or 6,200 if I remember correctly. 6,100, so my memory is pretty good. So 6,100, but I still like him. I like him as a possible sneaky play this week at running back here against the Rams. The Rams' passing defense is playing a lot better at the moment than their rushing defense. But Phillip Lindsay is someone that I'm going to consider, and definitely Todd Gurley's in play. I would have loved him even more so at that 9,500 and 10,000 on DK if Mr. Cooks or Mr. Kupp was out, especially if it was Mr. Cooper Kupp, because then this way he can fill in a little bit on those slot plays that Cooper Kupp would normally get. Okay, Diggs, Cooks. So BG for real says Diggs, Cooks, Tyler Boyd, Deshaun Jackson, start 2. Wow. I'll be willing. I'll be honest with you. I rather now this Cooks. Are you talking about Jared Cooks or you're talking about Brandon Cooks? I think Diggs is going to get defended by Patrick Peterson in that game by Arizona. So I'll be more inclined to Adam Thielen in the slot for Minnesota if I was going to go that route. And if it's Brandon Cooks of the Rams, I think he'll be a fine play in this game against Denver. But you mentioned two of the guys that I have really a lot of exposure to this week. So I would have to say that I'm going to definitely start Tyler Boyd and Deshaun Jackson, simply because, again, after I looked at the initial slate and I looked at a few statistical, a little bit of stats first, right away they gravitated to me that those are the kind of guys that I really want in this matchup this week. So I'm really high on both Deshaun Jackson and Tyler Boyd this week. Broncos and Patriots win this weekend. Oh, I don't know about the Broncos. I tell you something, the Broncos don't make this into a game. I mean, I think their coach is going to be on the brink of getting, tossed out of Denver. So, yeah, BG for real. Yeah, if it's Brandon Cooks, yeah, I like him. I think he's in a good matchup against Denver, and he gets targeted a lot. He's a big part of their offense. I just, I just favored a little bit more Tyler Boyd and Deshaun Jackson this week. I know they're not high-priced stud receivers this week, while Cooks is one of the better receivers, at least as far as on this actual slate, as far as price is concerned. But Tyler Boyd and Deshaun Jackson are in two big games, Tampa Bay and Atlanta, big shootout game. Tampa Bay's got no choice but to throw. They don't got no running game. And if they fall behind early to Matt Ryan and company, I can see Deshaun Jackson getting targeted 8 to 10 times or more. I really, truly believe that's what's going to happen. So I rather get the targets, man. Cooks could be a totally different story. If they get out early, I mean, he may not get the same amount of targets that Deshaun or possibly Tyler Boyd will be getting in their matchups. And that's just my opinion. I just feel that they're going to be more targets and more opportunity in the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game for Tyler Boyd, as well as Deshaun Jackson for Tampa Bay in the Atlanta game. Callaway or Njoku? Man, both are okay, but I got to go with my boy David Njoku. He's actually more. He's priced about what, $500-$600 more here, if I remember correctly. Callaway's at $4,900, yeah, and he's actually $600 because I remember Njoku being $55. Yeah. I mean, he's gonna this kid is gonna get targets, man. Baker Mayfield loves him, man. He don't have to even tell me that. I can just see by the way he just tries to hit this, find this kid when he's out there. Or Landry. Wow, when you mentioned Landry, I mean, I really have a little exposure to Jarvis Landry this week. I really think Cleveland can win this game at home tomorrow. I've been kind of like on the Cleveland bandwagon, since the beginning of the year, since they took Baker Mayfield away from the Jets, because I know the Jets were going to draft Baker Mayfield. They were going to draft him. But Cleveland did the right thing. They got themselves a good quarterback. And they got a nice set of players, man. And don't fall asleep on Carlos Hyde, man. Carlos Hyde is playing fairly well in Cleveland, and he gets a lot of red zone opportunities. So he could be someone you can definitely had there in that game. But I think this game is going to be a good game, close game, and I think Cleveland's defense is good enough to neutralize the Chargers, especially their passing game, because they have committed quite a bit of turn. I mean, Cleveland has a good giveaway-takeaway ratio. So they are pretty good at that, in getting interceptions and getting deflected passes. So I think Cleveland has a good shot tomorrow. I definitely like Njoku. I definitely like Baker Mayfield. I think you can, you could put a little check mark there on possibly Carlos Hyde getting close in the red zone and getting opportunities there as well. And when it comes to the receiving, man, you got to consider Landry here. No doubt about it. Blake Bortles, Darryl Parker asks Blake Bortles. Yeah, I think but Blake Bortles is not going to be highly owned at all this week. He's not somebody people are targeting. Yeah, he's definitely under the radar, in my opinion. 6,900. I mean, he's playing better quarterback than Dak Prescott, no doubt, so far this year. And he has better weapons at the moment. Dak only really has Ezekiel Elliott. That is it. He doesn't have none of their receivers are just. I mean, even though they all pretty much bunched up at the same price, Beasley is their top, highest price receiver here, and he's a starter, 5,400. So I definitely like Westbrook, really good here for Jacksonville, and then behind him, you could go either or with Moncrief or Cole, but I think Westbrook is the choice here. Blake Bortles. Neely asks, who's going to shadow Boyd or Deshaun Jackson? I'm not certain on that as far as Cincinnati's concerned. As far as who's going to be on, because Tyler Boyd is a wideout. Deshaun Jackson more than likely is going to be their second best corner over there, simply because their safeties, if I remember correctly, Allen and Neal are both still out, and they actually are the better secondary players for. But we'll take a quick look right here because I can get that matchup for you on Fantasy Labs. And let's see what Fantasy Labs has right now. I checked the wrong team. You said Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun plays the slot and the wide. They got him here supposedly with Poole. I think out of the guys Atlanta have, they're probably their best corner is Trufant, but it's probably going to be. I don't know how accurate this is with Fantasy Labs as far as Trufant going up against Godwin. I could probably see Trufant more on Mike Evans. Maybe Alford is a little bit taller. Maybe that's the reason why. But look at the number for Deshaun Jackson, man. 12.9. Wow. Wow. Yeah, so it looks like it's gonna be against Jackson, it's going to be Mr. Poole. I don't think it. Listen, to be honest with you, nobody back here on this Atlanta defense is fast enough to keep up with Deshaun Jackson. I mean, even though he's in the league about 9 years or so now, maybe 10, he's still very, very fast, man. Still very fast. Now, what we got here? Pittsburgh 12th versus wide receivers. Atlanta's 24th. Yeah, they're 24th in the league in defending. Again, they're 24th in defense. They give up quite a bit of fantasy points, man. 25.3 fantasy points per game. I like to look at the yardage, net yards per game, and I love to look at least at the very beginning, the fantasy points, because you definitely we're in here to get fantasy points, so we want to be able to make sure we are in favorable positions as far as whom is guarding whom, and defensively as far as getting those fantasy points. Okay, heavy on Steelers tomorrow, TYG. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not at all opposed to anything with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I think that's a great game to stack. I could see a team stacking easily of Ben Roethlisberger with Connor and having some correlation with possibly AB or Juju. That will work, you know. And it's no different with Cincinnati with Dalton and Joe Mixon, and then throwing in there maybe Tyler Boyd. You know, I love that as well. And you could take 5. You could take 5 out of those 6 or 4 out of those 6, and you got a nice little stack out of that game. What about Mayfield on tournaments? Yeah, I don't see no reason why not. I mean, Mayfield is at what, 7,500, 7,100. So he's actually even better, 7,100. And he's playing at home. He's averaging about 15 fantasy points. And he's just been increasing. His fantasy points have been going up and up. I mean, he's at 14.5. He's at 14.5 in 2 out of his 3 games that he started. And as you can see, he also has increased his pass attempts are over 40 per game now, and he's also throwing nearly 300 and, if you break down the last 2 games, maybe about 315 yards per game. So he's a 300 on average. I mean, I'm not going by the 279 here. That's very close to 300, but that's through the 3 games. But you can gauge it on these last 2 against Baltimore and Oakland, and he's at 295 and 342 here, 3 touchdowns. He definitely got to clean up the interceptions. That's for one. And then, of course, he's going to get some additional yardage as well. So you'll benefit out of the, dual threat quarterback situation with Baker Mayfield. Going up against the Chargers, man. Again, the Chargers are not, Chargers defensively. Let's see what we got here. Chargers are 19th in pass defense this year. Chargers are 19th. So, there's room. There's room for him to get some fantasy points. I think in this game for Baker Mayfield, he can easily get 15 to 18 fantasy points. And I would not be surprised if he gets a little bit over 20. Neely needs a sleeper picks, everyone overlooking. That is a good question. And in what position you're thinking of? Anywhere? Flex? A flex position? If you're looking in a top tier, I would say 1 or 2 guys. I would say Jarvis Landry is definitely someone that's not on everybody's radar this week. So if you want a sneaky receiver, sleeper play there, that'll be a nice one. The same here with Carlos Hyde for Cleveland. And if you're looking for cheaper on the lower end, I would say watch out for Doug Baldwin, all right, in the Seattle game. He's coming back. He's going to get himself going eventually with Russell. I do like Phillip Lindsay in this game against the Rams. I think that's going to be the ticket for Denver, is to definitely ground and pound with this young man. People have been talking about Cohen's, but we'll go a little bit lower. And like I said, it's a couple of value plays in the Jet game as well. Don't sleep on Robbie Anderson again this week, not to be on his bad wagon from last week. And again, I kind of like these guys down here, Chester Rogers, as well as the D.D. Westbrook for Jacksonville. So it all depends what value you're looking for, what price range. If you're looking in the under 6K, I would think Chester is pretty highly sought out this week, given that he's playing against the Jets, and they're down Hilton over there. I was saying the bottom half here, man, again, you got to be, Jordy Nelson is one of those guys. He can have a 5-point fantasy game, 10-point, and then the following week he can have a 20, 25, so a nice GPP sleeper will probably be Jordy here as well, being in London as the home team. And I think that's about it. I do like CJ in this game against Pittsburgh, but he's not going to put up large numbers. And if you're looking for somebody who can break one away and get a touchdown, Treadwell could be one of those guys from Minnesota, one of those sneaky guys that just can get you the touchdown. Another big play guy is Wilson. Albert Wilson could be a little cheap, low value play that can have a tremendous upside. You got to consider some of the Colt players as well and some of the Jet players. Yeah, Neely, that Washington game is a little scary. That Washington game, the most intriguing play there is all those guys are hurt. Then obviously the play is going to be Jordan Reed, and at 6,200, you'll take him if you can. This is going to be another. This game is also considered to be a close game. As far as paper, as far as implied total, 44, and right now Carolina is only favored by 1. And that's amazing. But both teams, as Carolina only has Christian McCaffrey. The offense is Christian McCaffrey. Greg Olsen is still questionable. And other than that, it's just Cam Newton. Their top receiver is Funches, and he's not all that great. He is not that great. But if you're looking for these are the guys. Let me just point out, these are the guys. After I evaluated I evaluated a number of players again last night because I'm still looking for value plays myself. And like I said, some of the value plays that I see this week: Robbie Anderson, okay, Chester Rogers, Mr. Grant for the Colts, for Seattle, Lockett and Baldwin. For Oakland, I like Nelson. For Indy, I like Rogers and Grant. For the Jets, Bilal Powell, if he plays, he could be a little possible play. Anderson and Robbie Anderson. For Tampa Bay, we already know the deal there. I mean, you could go to the lower end of the Tampa Bay offense as far as receiver. You can gauge and take roll the dice on Humphreys or maybe Godwin. I would think the targets are going to be more Jackson and Evans. For Cleveland, Carlos Hyde and Jarvis Landry, I think, are possible good plays, and Njoku. Carolina's just Funches if you're looking for low. I mean, obviously in the top tier, definitely McCaffrey's in play. For Washington, I really only like Jordan Reed. For Jacksonville, I definitely like T.J. Yeldon, Cole, Westbrook, and Moncrief, and Mr. Niles Paul, the tight end. So they got about 4 guys I like. Dallas, the only one is Elliott. Baltimore, I do like Flacco. I do like a little bit of Collins. I definitely love Mr. Brown, and a possible little sleeper will be Mr. Snead. And then for Tennessee, just Corey Davis, and that's after I did a little more extensive research. Those are the plays I think are the best ones if you're thinking about any possible value. So I love the Jets with Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa, who has been a little quiet the last couple of weeks. I think he's going to come back and have a little breakout game here against the Colts. And then you have Seattle. Lockett and Baldwin look very interesting to me, other than Chris Carson in that Oakland game. And then again, Jordy Nelson, I think is a fine play as well. Daryl Axis, Burton or Hooper. Both in play for me, but I am all over Hooper. He's one of my tight ends that I put in my tight end video. So I'm going to stick with the guys that I already did a little bit of research on. And I just love the matchup. I think that in this game here, Tampa Bay has really had a lot of issues with tight ends this year. And I just can't see how Atlanta is not considering putting Hooper in their offensive game plan tomorrow. So I definitely think that Mr. Hooper is going to get at least 6 or 7 targets, and hopefully he'll get 4 or 5, and he's capable of getting in the red zone and getting a touchdown. So I like Hooper. I always say Hooper over Burton tomorrow, at least in this matchup. Miami is not that bad of a defense. This could be a better defensive game than expected, but I still believe that Chicago is the better team and the better defense, and they'll pull that one out. You're welcome, Daryl. I see Bobby's in here. How you doing, Bobby? I didn't say hello before. Okay, Daryl says he's thinking of Julio and Adam Thielen. Not bad if you can get those two. Adam Thielen will get his usual 20. And, if he gets in the end zone, it's all a bonus because that'll put you at about 26 fantasy points here on Fanduel. And obviously maybe 29 to 30 on DK. So... yeah, Devin says Dotson and Reed. Well, Dotson's one of the ones that's questionable too, if I remember, or he has been cleared. Yeah, he has that questionable tag still on him too. If these 3 guys are out, man, they're in some serious trouble, Washington, because I have no idea who they're going to throw the ball to. It's obvious they're going to have to try to throw it to one of their backs, and they both are they got so many guys questionable, and I saw this earlier in the week, and I still can't believe they're still all questionable. Adrian Peterson, Chris Thompson, and the 3 receivers that they normally use, in Crowder, Richardson, and Dotson, they all have the questionable tag on them. So that leads you to believe that, they may go with a double tight end set a lot in this game and use Reed and Davis. So don't fall asleep on possibly Vernon Davis getting some action here. He's always hurt. TYG says Donald. Yeah, Donald is a very sneaky play. No doubt about it. At quarterback for the Jets, Sam Donald, man, he may want to be Air Donald again. Yeah, he was airing it out last week with Robbie Anderson. He might want to do that double, that dynamic duel thing again this week, which I'm all in favor of because I'm a New York Jet fan, so I definitely want the Jets to light up the Colts. I think the Jets are going to win this game. I mean, it's just, but anything can happen, of course, because Andrew Luck is just going to definitely chuck the ball, man. He's going to have to throw. He's got a couple of nice little good wideouts there, but I think the Jets will be able to neutralize that a little bit and keep the game fairly close and possibly pull it out. But if we can get the run game going, even with Bilal Powell, and that'll open up the doors for everything else as far as going deep with Robbie Anderson and so on. So, yeah, that's a great question there, Randy. Great question. All right, how many players from one team is too many of your stack? Me personally, if with my experience, if you haven't seen my game stacks video that I put out yesterday and the first one I did last week, kind of start giving a couple little tips on what I do, more or less. I will definitely expand on that more as we go over the next couple of weeks into the season. But I normally go with game stacking. I normally go anywhere between 4 to 6 players within one game. I normally don't go even further than that. And I do the same strategy in the NBA, which is starting this coming week. Same strategy. 4 to as many as 6 players. If the implied totals are good, the matchup is favorable. In basketball, it's slightly different because you're looking at the defenses, you're looking at who's defending the player as well. But I mean, and it's not, you'll do the same here, but sometimes in football, it's just more, you can gauge it a little bit more by the total defense a little bit more. I look at 4 to 6 players. So if I'm going to, like, for instance, the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game, I made a number of lineups, not in the millionaire. In the millionaire, I'm only going to play one lineup, but I have like about 10 lineups that I made for $3 and $4 games, tournaments. And I'm going to have exposure to Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and as well as Tampa Bay and Atlanta. And Tampa Bay, Atlanta, I'm not choosing any of the running backs. At least for me, I'm going to go and get the running backs from somewhere else. But you could literally make a play for, let's say if you do a Tampa Bay stack, you can literally go Winston, Evans, and Deshaun Jackson. And you got that. And then get from Atlanta, you're going to have to expose yourself at that point to 2 quality Atlanta players that are going to get action. And that's going to definitely be Julio Jones, and I will have to say Ridley or not Hooper, And then, or you can always go Mohamed Sanu, but a little risky there. I think Deshaun Jackson, I think in Chris Ridley is just a little bit more explosiveness as far as like he's similar to what Deshaun Jackson can bring on the field as far as big playability. So, I mean, Julio Jones, I'll probably go Ridley, and I'll probably do Tampa Bay stack of Winston, with Evans and Deshaun Jackson. If you flip the script, then you go the other way. You go Matt Ryan. You could easily go Julio Jones and Ridley, and maybe even go Hooper and load them up with 4 like that, and then get 2 from Tampa Bay like Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson, and there goes your 6 players. So I normally go 4 to 6, and I usually go 4-2 or 3-3. 3-3 is usually the best, and then there's a number of times I only play 5, and I'll go 3-2, a 3-2 stack favoring one team. Darryl says, Cousins, Thielen, and Diggs a good stack? Yes, I just think that Diggs is going to probably be fronted quite a bit by Mr. Peterson, and we know he's still a fairly good cover corner. So, I mean, I'm more concerned with him that he may be blanketed a little bit more by that's why I like more Thielen this week, and that's why I have Thielen as one of the players that I like this week on my videos. Jamal Charles, yeah, he's back, huh? Somebody gave him a job. For Houston, let's take a look at that. Well, man, he's put up 15 fantasy points. So Kike is definitely someone to take a look at. I mean, he's averaging 15 fantasy points in 2 games. Obviously, I love Hopkins and I love Fuller. Buffalo, yeah, they have had the issues with the corners, with the receivers. I mean, I'm not too thrilled about this game. I do love Deshaun Jackson in this game, and hey, you know what? I mean, I'm gonna have some exposure to Deshaun, and I'm gonna have some exposure with Deshaun with Fuller or Hopkins. But you bring up a good point there. Maybe going a little cheaper, especially with Kiki, might be a good idea. So who knows? Two running backs besides Gurley. Well, my two running backs are Mixon and they're in this game right here. These are the two guys that I like the best this week. James Conner and Joe Mixon. They're battling against one another's defenses. You know, those are the best ones. Other than that, I like Chris Carson for Seattle for sure this week. Those are the guys I like best this week as far as the matchup, as far as how they're playing right now, and so I would definitely go those with Conner and Hyde. Yeah, Conner and Hyde is not bad. Conner and Hyde is not bad. Carlos Hyde is very good in the red zone. Cleveland definitely utilizes him there. They like to start off their offense and build their offense around the run game. Cleveland is more of a balanced type of offense. So they like to get their running game going, and that opens up the doors for everything else. But Carlos Hyde, you know, he's kind of like he has a little bit of that dual threat ability. He's capable of catching the ball out of the backfield as well. But he's definitely pretty good as far as getting that 3-4 yards per carry on a regular basis between the tackles. And he's very good in the red zone. They target him in the red zone quite a bit. I think he's one of the top like 4 or 5 in the league entirely in the red zone. While Sun is only 3.5K on DK, 3.5 on DK, yeah, he's definitely, that's a nice little sleeper play right there. I'm going to have to go to DK and check that out. I did not target him whatsoever. I definitely like Hopkins and Fuller, but he may be somebody I may squeeze in here in one of my lineups here on DK tomorrow, which I'll work on later on tonight. This is why I like doing the live show, because we also can feed off one another. And sometimes we overlook certain players, or we don't even target them at all. So that's some good stuff there. Melvin Gordon. Yeah, Melvin Gordon is a play. He's probably the only one that I really like in that Charger game against Cleveland. I really like the Cleveland team in this matchup at home. The Chargers definitely play better at home than they play on the road. And then remember, they're coming from California all the way to the East Coast. So usually those California teams, sometimes they have some issues coming to the East Coast, man. So we'll see how that pans out. I do love Cleveland at home, but out of the Chargers, if I'm on anybody, it will probably be Melvin Gordon, just strictly because of his abilities. You know, I mean, he's one of the top dual threat backs. I think this is, for me personally, I don't know if I'm just being a little more biased lately, because I'm really starting to like the way the Browns play football. Browns last week, they played it was kind of like a really boring but a good defensive game against Baltimore. Obviously, the Chargers have a little bit more weapons than Baltimore has, even though Baltimore's offense is actually just as good. I think it's just as good as Cleveland. I think that was a fair game last week as far as how the teams line up. But with this guy back there, obviously the Chargers have a little bit more of a firepower in their running game. But we'll see how it pans out tomorrow. He is the only one that I really like in that matchup for the Chargers. I don't like nobody else. I don't even like Phillip Rivers in this game. So, you ask me, Randy, I would probably fade this game and Melvin Gordon. But again, like I say here every single time, I'm going to say it again. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. So Melvin Gordon may go tomorrow and light up the Cleveland Browns for over 100 yards rushing, 200 total all-purpose yards. You never know. It can happen. We know that. What are the odds of it? I say that maybe tomorrow he probably won't get 100 yards. I think Cleveland knows that they can, if they really build a nice game plan defensively on neutralizing, maybe putting more people in the box and seeing if they can get, because I think Cleveland's defense, even though they don't have a whole lot of sacks, they could be a nice pressurized team and could definitely disturb Phillip Rivers a little bit, who is not a really good mobile quarterback. Neely's trying to, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do the same thing. Listen, the only thing we have to do, people always ask, how well you do and so on and so forth. It's very difficult. When you're a GPP player like I am, that I really try to hit the home run every week and try to win $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 or whatever, or $100,000 or this one here, $1 million. You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win consistently. You just want to be at least in that range that you at least have a shot every single week. That when you finish the day, you say, hey, you know what? I got a 140 score. I got a 150 score. At least it's pretty respectable. I got 175. To win and take down GPPs, you basically really need to get 200 points or more. I mean, from what I've seen, and this is my 4th year playing Fanduel and DraftKings football, because I started with the football. So I would say about 3.5 years now, but this is going into my 4th season. That's what I've seen. That's been the success. You know, it's 200 or better. In basketball, it's 300. If you're in the 300 club, you're good to go. In the NBA, chances are you could take down a GPP, or you can score fairly high. I've been able to do that in the NBA a lot better than I've done in the NFL, but I've won money in both. And again, you're trying to still hit the home run. If you hit a 30 or 40K or a 50K or 100K, you're good. If you win one of those a year, you've made up for all the 2 months or 3 months you've been trying. The only thing is you don't break the bank. You know, have some bankroll management. Make sure you're not utilizing money that you shouldn't be using. You know, just bet and play safely. If you have $1,000 and that's all you have allocated to DFS, then make sure you're only using 20-25% of it. Cup and Golf are clicking. Oh yeah, Cooper Kupp is, you know, him and Golf is doing well with all these guys. To be honest with you, with Woods, everybody, Todd Gurley, they got it really going over there, and that's all obviously in a tribute to not only the skill set of these players, but also to the coaching staff. You know, the coaching of Sean McVay is doing a great job in putting the offense together with these kids. Man, they're doing a heck of a job. Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, it's just unfortunate. You know, I mean, it's unfortunate that we are DFS players. Some of us play for cash, and I started that way, and then I just got hooked on the GPP, and then ever since I basically play a lot of GPPs. But I mean, I've taken down a couple of events, especially early this year. A few of them this year with the NBA. Nothing huge, but you know, I mean, several thousands of dollars that helped me be able to build a nice bankroll. So I just try to manage it and just try to keep it. I mean, WNBA was really a bummer. I didn't play a whole lot of money in the WNBA, but it was definitely not a good year for me WNBA-wise this year as far as taking anything down. Last year I did win, like, I would say about close to about $2,000 over the summer combined with some small events through the WNBA. But this year I didn't win anything big. I mean, I made some money, recoup what I played. You know, it was just back and forth like that. Some nights I lost all of it, but 2 nights later I won, you know, $50 back or $100, and it was just all choppy all season long. So it wasn't that. But this is the life of a DFS player that just likes to play tournaments. You know, it's going to happen. And the whole goal here, if you are a GPP player like myself, the whole goal here is to try to take one down. And you only need to take one. If you take one a year and it's $1 million, hey, that's fantastic. If you take one a year and it's 100K, that's great. That's more than what I earn in my job. So I'll take that. But winning maybe 2 or 3 at 10 or 20 or 30K, that's not bad. So I try to always say to myself, let me try to see if I can take one down. And the goal is for me is to try to take something down every month. But it's not going to happen. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. Sir Dave Sachs, who you think is the best offense in the league? Best offense in the league right now is the Los Angeles Rams, at least in my opinion. I think the Rams are the best. Henry Boy says, I'm going for 200 this week. Yeah, you get 200. Let's put it this way. You know how exciting it is to be in a tournament and you see yourself, and I've been there because I can share that experience. You're like a little bit nervous, but at the same time, you're like really excited, like, oh man, you know, I got a shot here. You know, when you are there in football, when you're in that 200 range and you still got like a whole quarter or maybe even a whole half, or you got the later games, sometimes you play and you have like 2 players still left from the 4 o'clock slate, and you're like, you find yourself at pretty much 200 before, around the time that you're starting the 4 o'clock games, you know for a fact you got a shot. You know, and that's when it gets really, really exciting, and you're like, holy smoke. You know, when I had the success with the NBA earlier this year, it was just the same way. It was just like was in pins and needles, but at the same time the excitement, but at the same time the nerves, and you're like, oh man, I really got a shot here, man. I'm in 8th place and I got a whole quarter and a half left, and I'm looking at the top 7 guys in front of me, and I'm saying, man, I got one player more than they do. And you start breaking down the numbers, you say, hey, you know what? I got a shot here, man. This is pretty exciting. So that's what's so good about it, and that's what makes NBA even more exciting for me, because the numbers just one quarter, the whole standings can just change real quickly. It does the same in football. If a guy scores a touchdown, all of a sudden you just jump up 200, 3,000 positions. But in the NBA, it's just so back and forth. You're like, holy smoke. Yeah, that's what we have to aim for. Devin Washington, all right, you took down a tournament this summer in WNBA. Hey, man, I hope I helped you out with that. Because I know you did listen to some of my WNBA videos. You were one of my supporters. So that's great, man. Good for you, man, that you were able to do that. Need 4 30s to be in 200. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. I mean, you get 4 players tomorrow, and they all score about 30 points by the time the first, the 1 o'clock games are over, and you still got 2 or 3 players set to go in the, or a player or two, and it can happen. It's happened. You're gonna be like really, really excited. You're gonna know that, man, I got a shot here to win $1 million, or whatever it may be. If you're playing the 100,000, 50,000 for first. I mean, all that is just exciting stuff. It's supposed to rain in that Rams game? Wow. Yeah, well, it's supposed to rain. It's supposed to snow. Yeah, of course, it's Denver. When does it not start snowing in Denver? It's kind of early already, right? I mean, we're in mid-October, and they're already getting some snow. Oh, man, thank goodness I don't live over there, man. I live in New York, and I don't love the snow at all. I'm looking forward to hopefully relocating, possibly in a year or two. I'm getting older, and I don't like the cold at all anymore. And I'm a native New York. I was born and raised here. DJ Dog says Tariq Cohen. Yeah, I mean, I spoke about him a little bit earlier. Yeah, he's in play, no doubt about it. I mean, if you saw my running back video, I put in Jordan Howard, and of course, when I came into the live show today, I had removed Jordan Howard from my top 3. And I moved Joe Mixon in there as my 3 favorite plays at running back this week. But I also did mention that, Cohen has been getting a little bit more of the reps and the action as of late, and he's been explosive for Chicago, and I can see where they'll gravitate to him again tomorrow against Miami. But don't fall asleep on Jordan Howard, but Mr. Cohen is definitely in play. You got to remember, they're going to share some of the snaps. So that's the only thing that's a little bit of a drawback, that you just got to keep in the back of your mind. Is he going to get more snaps than Jordan Howard, or Jordan Howard gets the start and he's moving the ball well? What's going to happen to Mr. Cohen? But Mr. Cohen is probably doing better coming off the backfield. So, as a pass receiver, as a dual threat back, as opposed to Mr. Howard. So it's going to be interesting how Chicago plays them both tomorrow. But I definitely am off of Howard. I think Cohen at $300 cheaper is not a bad play. Albert Wilson. I did mention Albert Wilson as one of those kind of sneaky value plays. He has big playability. He was able to do that quite a bit in Kansas City over the years. I know it's not the same situation because, when you were in Kansas, when he was with Kansas City, he had Alex Smith, who was obviously a better quarterback. When he has, I feel bad for Alex Smith because he doesn't have the same offense that he's been with for several years, so he's kind of looked pretty bad. But the situation with Miami with Ryan Tannehill, we know he's not the greatest. He's not horrible, but he's not that good. And he's definitely not better than Alex Smith. Alex Smith, Albert Wilson would have been doing well if he was still with Alex Smith and they were both still in Kansas City. But I think this is just a matter, again, Albert Wilson should get opportunities here. Chicago's pretty good almost everywhere as far as defense. They're pretty solid. They're in the top 3 or 4 in the NFL, pretty much in every category. So tough matchup for Albert Wilson, but I think for 4,900 or something like that he is. Yeah, 4,900. I mean, you could roll a dice on him, man. He's definitely somebody that's not going to be. He's not going to be someone that. He's not someone that everybody's got their eye on. Heavy wins in London, huh? Well, more the ground and pound in that game, man. So more of Mr. Marshawn Lynch and Mr. Chris Carson. I love Chris Carson tomorrow. He's one of my running backs for this week. So if it's going to be that windy, hey, you know what? There's going to be more Russell Wilson running the ball, and it's going to be more Mr. Chris Carson between those tackles. Russell Wilson more on the outside. Henry Boyd, that's a good point to make out. Make sure the late game hit has somebody playing. Yeah, I always try to make a lineup where there's at least one or two of my players, maybe even sometimes more, depending on the slate, as far as the matchups are concerned, that I have some exposure to the 4 o'clock games. This way, at least I know that maybe I can just possibly still hit something. Or at least by the time the 1 o'clock games are over, that you have a shot, knowing that you have 2 or 3 players left if you're already in the top 1,000 or top 2,000 in a major tournament. You at least have a shot. And then always remember, you got that late swap here on FanDuel for the NFL, so you can definitely change a player if you need to just before that 4 o'clock. DJ Dog, yeah, you missed it early. I definitely during the course of the week when I did my videos, I definitely pointed out Joe Mixon, and Tyler Boyd was in my receivers video. So yeah, Tyler Boyd is I'm definitely having exposure to Tyler Boyd as well as Joe Mixon in this game against Pittsburgh. So I definitely like both of them very much this week. Devin asked if I play the preseason basketball. No, I did not, but I did watch a lot of highlights. And obviously I did take a look at the box scores because I definitely want to see who's been playing, which rookies have been doing well, and so on and so forth. So I'm pretty much prepared for the NBA, but I did not. As far as playing DFS, no, I did not. I normally don't play NBA DFS during the preseason. It's just too choppy for me, man. You just don't know who's gonna play, how many minutes. I know it's all preseason. I pretty much, tell you the truth, I don't normally play any preseason. I didn't play no NFL preseason either. George Mitchell says, "How about Mike Davis? Mike Davis of the Seattle team." I'm on Chris Carson, man. It's tough for me to gauge on what they're going to do with Mike Davis. He may get some touches. I would think he's going to get some exposure in the game. I don't think the way Chris Carson has been getting the workload and he's been playing, and as well as he's been playing, if he gets off between the tackles and runs the ball well tomorrow, especially if there is going to be some high winds, they're definitely going to try to, get that running game going. If he is playing well, I can't see Mike Davis getting a whole lot of snaps. I can see where Chris Carson's going to get the bulk of those snaps. But if he gets some, he's probably going to get more targeted as far as a receiver than he is as far as a runner. He's done well on both ends of that, but I just don't know, man. Well, he got 12 touches last week, 68 yards, so he got 14. The week before that, he did very well with 26, 25 touches, but that was against Arizona. It's tough to gauge, man, but I really think that the play here, if you're going to go with somebody in Seattle, you pay the $600-700 more and go with Chris Carson. If you want to target one of these guys here, or if you want to target both, there's nothing wrong with playing Chris Carson and Mike Davis. You could put Mike Davis in the flex position, so there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're asking me if I had to choose between the two, I would go Chris Carson. Chris Carson is the guy I like this week. Neely Yeldon is in a good spot. He's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get the ball. Going up against Dallas. Dallas defense is not that bad. They are Dallas's weakness is definitely in their secondary. Up front, they're usually pretty good. They got a decent pass rush. I think they got 14 or 15 sacks this year. Is in the top 5 or 6 in the league. They are playing against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's offense is, You look at them, there's nothing scary about them, not even all the way through the quarterback, through the running back. Obviously, if Leonard Fournette was playing, we will be concerned with Leonard Fournette because he was just absolutely incredible last year. But now he's just been hurt pretty much the whole year, which really sucks for Jacksonville. But T.J. Yeldon has been getting the brunt of the work, and he's been doing a good job. So I don't see no difference tomorrow. I mean, if they neutralize him, I still think Jacksonville will do fine through the air using Moncrief, Westbrook, and Cole. So Neely asking Connor or Mixon. You're putting me in some tough spots here with these questions. You know I'm on Connor and Mixon on this week. They're two of my favorite this week, and they're playing against one another. If I am going to choose one of the two, then I'm going to have to go with the guy who's at home. I'm going to have to go with Mixon. Because, again, Pittsburgh has had – and the reason I would say that to you, Neely, is plain and simple. Joe Mixon is an integral part, very important part of Cincinnati's offense, and they already have shown that. In the 3 games he's played this year, he's gotten the bulk of the brunt as far as the touches in the backfield, and he's done so well. Whereas James Conner, as soon as they fall a little bit behind, Pittsburgh just goes on that passing mode. So I can see Cincinnati probably taking the lead early, and all of a sudden now James Conner is going to be more getting only the checkdowns, trying to get behind the defenses in the zones, and trying to get some pass receptions. Whereas I would think it's better for them to actually utilize James Conner and get him to run between the tackles first, and then open up for all the other things that to evolve in the game. But Mike, Pittsburgh has shown that they have fallen behind in games, so that's the only part that will scare me off of having James Conner. If you're going to make a choice between Conner and Mixon, I would think I would go with Mixon, and I also like the factors that he's at home. Sony Michel or James White in play? Sony Michel, for New England. That's going to be a crazy shootout too with Kansas City, but I think Kansas City is gonna put New England in its place this week. I look forward to watching that game because I want to see how New England is going to be able to neutralize all the offensive weapons that Kansas City has shown thus far this year. I want to see how they handle that because New England's defense is not that good. It really isn't. They have played well as of late, but they have not faced this offense that they're going to face this week. I'm looking forward to that. Angel Guard, the 4 o'clock slate. The team recommend me to stack. A team stack. I got to go with the Rams, but if you're going to choose anybody else, I would say Baltimore. I would go Flacco and utilize either Mr. Brown and throw in there Snead, or you can go in there and throw in either Javarius Allen or possibly Alex Collins. And if you go, and again, Jacksonville would not be bad either with Blake Bortles, T.J. Yeldon, and then have the correlation and get in there either Moncrief or Westbrook. And I will prefer Westbrook, but probably the best play will be the Rams. We're having Goff. If you have the salary, get Gurley. If not, then definitely go and get 2 of their receivers. You can go Cooper Kupp. You could go Cooper Kupp if he more than likely Cooper Kupp is playing. So you're gonna have Cooper Kupp. You can go Cooper Kupp, and you can go with Mr. Robbie Woods. Yeah, that's important. New England, you see, that's a good point you bring up, Neely, and that's what New England is going to need to do. They're going to need to try to, control the line of scrimmage, get first downs, and most importantly, use up the time of possession. If they can do that, they'll be all right. But if they're going to try to, if Kansas City goes out there and they get their offense rolling and they get out ahead, and you got to have Brady try to at least come, playing from behind, it's going to get ugly for New England. So they need to score early, and they need to definitely ground and pound, kill some time, control the line of scrimmage, definitely eat up some time of possession, make long drives. I think Kansas City is going to be honest, as Kansas City has looked poor during the first 3 or 4 games of the season, they have looked better defensively in the last game or two in some areas. So don't be surprised if they're good enough to neutralize what New England has. New England doesn't have a whole lot of firepower, and Gronkowski has been like non-existent so far this year as far as being that elite tight end that we always are known to, know him by. Moncrief, decent value, yes. I like Moncrief. I like the Jacksonville guys. I like those guys, especially if you're looking to game stack Tampa Bay and Atlanta or Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, one of the higher implied games. And then you can definitely, like for instance, the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game, you can go and get a Moncrief or a Westbrook and stick them in there in a flex or one of those receivers because you're not going to utilize all the receivers. I think when you're thinking Pittsburgh-Cincinnati, like I said in my game stack video yesterday, I like the factors of utilizing the two running backs here. So the running backs are going to be covered. Then you just make sure that you make one lineup with Dalton, have some correlation with him with Mixon and possibly A.J. Green or Tyler Boyd, and then the reversal with Pittsburgh with Big Ben and Connor, and having maybe Antonio Brown or J.J. Schuster. I will go the cheaper. I'll go with Juju. J.J. I meant not J.J., not Jesse James, but Juju Schuster. And that's the way I would go. And then you can go and get a Moncrief out of this game, or you can get someone like from the Jet Indianapolis game, like Chester Rogers or something that is 5,900, or even maybe Robbie Anderson was 55. Chester Rogers is 5,700. Quincy's 58. Even Grant. But I will probably target these two the most. Robbie Anderson more because of the big playability and the speed than Chester because he's been one of the most important players receiving the ball from Andrew Luck other than Ebron since the injury to Hilton. So that's what I'm pretty much at. Yeah, Mike, I am totally in agreement with you. When it comes to NBA, it's more exciting, and that is the biggest thing is they are games every day. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out. We got 42 people here right now. Some of you guys obviously have been around me for a while. Last week I said in the live show that I went over the threshold of the 1,000 subscribers, which is obviously a big deal on YouTube. I mean, obviously it's a big deal to me. It's great to know that I've had that kind of support thus far. And I'm still growing and I'm still evolving and still learning and still trying to teach. And, I just wanted to, again, tell everybody I greatly appreciate you guys, especially some of you have been with me for several months now. Some of you have been with me since the beginning. And that when I started doing some NBA late in the NBA season, when I started the channel about 7 months ago. And I'm going to be, by Monday, I'm working on my website. By Monday, I'm going to be giving away, I said last week I was going to have a giveaway. I'm going to give away 2 NBA for those who are on NBA. Now, if somebody wins when I pull out those names out of the hat, this is very important, guys, because I went into the YouTube channel of mine and I looked over all the subscribers and I'm realizing that about maybe 7, maybe close to 800 subscribers, their names come up, but there's about 200 or 300 or maybe even as much as 400 that are not. And if you don't have that turned on, chances are you're not going to ever win anything. If every time I reach a certain milestone, I'm going to definitely give something away to my audience. So I'm going to give away 2 prizes to my audience. Last week I said I didn't know what that was, but I've been working on the website, so the website is going to be available probably by tomorrow or Monday. Is going to be done, and then I'm going to be able to do the drawing. So I'm going to actually do a drawing. I'm going to hand out 2 NBA full season lineup advice packages. You're going to be able to have a 6. It's going to have a core 6 cash and GPP for every 3-game slate or more, main slate, throughout the whole NBA season. If you check that all out on schedule, it's a lot of games. I mean, this is easily like a $250 package. I'm giving that out away to 2 of my subscribers just for reaching the 1,000 subscribers milestone, which I greatly appreciate you guys all being involved of. So I'm going to probably do that on Monday, because the season starts Tuesday, but Tuesday is a 2-game slate. So whoever wins, the 2 individuals that win those packages, and if you don't do NBA and you wish to do it, then you're going to get it for free. You're going to get the entire year for nothing. I mean, you can't beat that at all. It's a good way for me to share, to be able to give back to my audience, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for you guys to not only try to learn a little bit more about me, but at the same time see some of my regular really true picks that I'm looking at, and at the same time possibly win some money. And I did quite a bit. I did pretty well last year in the NBA, so I really think that's probably one of my better, even though I do well normally on NFL as well. I think that you're going to be in a good spot. So again, most importantly, I want to thank all of you, and I figure Monday when I do my videos for getting ready to do my NBA videos, I'll probably announce it. Now, if the two individuals that win do not play NBA DFS, no problem. I'll be willing to give you the remainder of the NFL, and I'm willing to give you those picks directly every single week by Saturday, and you'll be able to go ahead and play your Sunday games entirely. Obviously, that information is entirely available to you for free. So I'll announce that all on Monday. I'm going to look it over. The website's pretty much almost done. I'm going to definitely do some more work on it over the next day or two. But like I said, on Monday, I'm going to have that giveaway for the 1,000 subscribers. I agree. Again, I appreciate every one of you guys that have been around, and a lot of you have given me great comments, and I appreciate that really deeply. All right. So I wanted to get that out of the way before I forget, because I get all into the football and everything else, and then I just realize, hey, you know what? I've killed so much time here and I'm not saying anything. All right, let's get back to some questions here before I wrap it up. Jim O, somebody said, give away a car, you cheap F. Wow. I think Jim O needs to go and see another channel and hang out with some other people. Yeah, there's no cars. There's not going to ever be any cars given away here, buddy. I can't even win my own car. You would say, yeah, Devin, I would know. TY is out. You don't have to wait till Monday. I'll accept it now. No problem, Neely. No problem. Look, again, I'm gonna do everything I can. By Monday, I should be ready. When I do the next video, then I should be ready to be able to announce who those winners are. I got to get all those names out of the subscribers list and put them all on the paper. I will do that personally in the video, shake up the bottle or whatever it is I'm going to do. I don't know what exactly yet, and I'm going to pull the two names out. Like I said, a certificate guaranteed doubt he pays. Well, Jim, who's Jim O? Who's this guy? I never even seen him before. Like to see a certificate of guarantee. Man, there ain't going to be no need to guarantee. I'm going to give you access to the site. You're going to get this information directly to you, man. You know. Yeah, no problem, Randy. I appreciate it. Buddhist. Yeah, listen, I'm not worried about negative. I don't let nobody affect me with that stuff, man. You know, he shouldn't be on here if he's here to bash people or anybody else on the channel. You know, it's unnecessary, man. It's like so many things you could be doing right now. Go and watch a little college football or something. Jonathan Gates, let's make a lineup real fast. Yeah, man. Where you want to start at? I'm okay with that. You want to gauge one of these games as a game stack, and then build the value from there. Mike, my top 3 running backs this week: Connors, Mixon, and Chris Carson. Those are the 3. I had Jordan Howard on the video earlier in this week, but I've changed my mind on Jordan Howard during the course of the week. Henry Boyd, all right. Yeah, Freeman is out. Coleman is in play. I'm not loving Coleman. To be honest with you, I think this game with Atlanta and Tampa Bay is going to be based more on their passing games. They both know that they're vulnerable there, and I can see either one. Whoever falls behind early, if Atlanta falls behind by 10, it's going to be a shootout. If Tampa Bay falls behind by 10, you're going to see Jameis Winston just win. And Tampa Bay more so a pass-oriented team than Atlanta, due to the fact that their running game is like non-existent. In 4 games this year, I think they have like a 69 average. You know, so they're not getting any running game going with Mr. Barber back there, Peyton Barber. No, let's just pick quarterback to. Devin always loves he loves to play the 20-player tournament. Anybody, I mean, do we have 20 players here that want to do a tournament? I could put up a DFS Zone NFL tournament for tomorrow, a $2 buy-in or something like that. I mean, I think first place is like $18 for us. I mean, if somebody wants to build their bankroll, you can do that. I have no problem with that. We did that with the WNBA, and guys like Devin Washington enjoy that. And but I don't know how many of you guys here definitely want to do that. No, I got you, Devin. I know what you meant. I know what you meant by it. Henry Boyd is down. That's 2. No problem, Chris, man. Good luck tomorrow. Jonathan Gates, I'm down. That's 3. Make that lineup real quick. Well, let's go. I mean, so where you guys at? Where you want to start at? So you want to start at quarterback, or you want to go ahead and let's just get the defense out of the way? Daryl Parker is in. That's 4. We got 4. Myself is 5. Do we have at least 15 more people? If I make a tournament, $2 buy-in tournament for tomorrow's main slate, if we get 15 more people. Now, I know I got names from the WNBA. I could always forward that to those individuals, but I don't know if any of them are playing NFL other than the guys that I see here, like James Parker, Perkins, and Henry Boyd. These Devin Washington, I know they were doing the WNBA. So we want to start a quarterback. Somebody says Ryan. How many people say Ryan? I'm okay with Ryan. Let's get 3 or 4 votes for Ryan. Anybody else second that, third that? We'll make a lineup here as a community. Artful Dodger is down. All right, so that's 6 guys. Angel Guard. George Mitchell's down. All right, what I got to do is say we got about 7, 8 guys already. 7, 8 people that want to do it. I mean, we could always go with 10 this week if you guys want to do it, but if you want to have a shot in winning the tournament and getting a few more bucks, I think 20 players is the best way to go. All right, so we got Luck. Anybody else? Quarterback. Who else? We got 2 votes for Ryan. I'm okay with Ryan, so that's 3. We have Perkins says Andrew Luck. Anybody else? Oh, we got a lot of Ryan, so I think it's Matt Ryan, all right? RB1. What are you guys thinking? I'm okay with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is my top quarterback this week on my list. I'm okay with Ryan. I'm okay with Jameis Winston. And I'm okay with Kirk Cousins. Those are my 3 this week that I like the best, but there are a couple others that I do like. I think Andy Dalton is in a good spot. I also think Russell Wilson's in a good spot. I also think that Andrew Luck is in a good spot. So there's a couple quarterbacks this week that I find interesting. I also like Blake Bortles with Dallas, but you can't take them all. So I'm gonna go with the best ones. RB1, Connor. Anybody else for Connor? Any votes for Mixon? Artful says Mixon. So we got Mixon and Connor. Those are 2 of the guys I chose this week. Anybody else? Carson. There goes all 3 of them. All right, so let's get at least 3 or 4 votes. DJ Dodger says Mixon. Mixon as well. That's 2 Mixons. 2 Gurleys. 2 Mixons, 2 Gurleys. Another Carson. 2 Carson. 3 Carson. Oh boy, now it's really tough. So we got 3 Carsons. Another Connor. So which one is it? Connor or Carson? Matt Olden says Connor also. All right, let's put in the Connor for now. Let's see what the numbers look like. Do you guys want to go to wide receiver 1 first? Before we come back to a running back? How about WR1? Let's not load up on the running backs yet. We got an $8,200 running back right now and an $8,300 quarterback. Let's go with a wideout, and let's make sure that it's at least a mid-tier play, probably. Anybody for Julio Jones or for Thielen, Mike Evans. If you're looking at that tier, if you're looking for under 8, we got Woods, Landry, Cooper Kupp. Okay, we got a under 6 value there. George says Chester Rogers. I'm okay with him. Not Connor. Oh, Julio. All right, if we go Julio, we're going to definitely have to find value in tight end, defense, and at least in that running back position, at least in my opinion. So how about WR2? Or do we go now to defense? Let's go to defense and let's see how much we can save here. We only got 5,800 left. Well, I'm okay with what we have right here, right now. The only thing is that we got 5,800 left, so we got to find some value in some spots. So let's go to defense now, and let's get that out of the way. Bears or Ravens, those are my two favorite. Cowboy defense, Bears, Browns. We got 2 Browns. We got 2 Cowboy, 1 Cowboy, 1 Miami. Anybody else? Tennessee. Let's try to get 3 or 4. Browns. All right, we got a lot of Browns here. Baltimore. Man, oh man, that's a tough choice. Panthers. Baltimore. All right, let me go to the defense here for a minute. Let's see where we at. Bears are 45. Ravens are 4. Cowboys are 41. Panthers are 39. Miami's 35. Where's Cleveland at? Cleveland is 32, man. Do we take a stab at Cleveland? They do have one of the highest ratios in giveaway takeaways. Cleveland Browns. They have 8 interceptions and 14 sacks, man. 7 fumble recoveries. What do you guys think? Should we go Browns? Cleveland it is. 3,200. Now we got 6,300. All right, let's get that tight end out of the way, man. Let's find a value tight end player, and then we can come back to the big boys. Tight end. Who we got? We can't go with Ebron. It's too expensive. 6,500. We can't go with Cook. Too expensive. So we got to come down at least under 5 or under 5,500. Let's go under 5 for a minute and see what we got here. We got Niles Paul at 4,800. He's going to get some targets. You got Charles Clay against Houston. You got V. Mack for Pittsburgh. You got Ryan Griffin for Houston. And you got Cameron Brate. He's one of my guys this week. On the lower end here, I think that's it. I'm not too fond of anybody else under 42. Brate. Griffin. It looks like we have Brate, Griffin, 1, 2. We got 3, 4. We got 4 Brate. We got 5 Brate. All right. I'm okay with that. He's one of the guys I like this week as well. Cameron Brate. Now we have 6,800. All right, let's find. Where you want to go? You want to try to find a value play, a really good value play, a running back, or we want to get one of our wideouts as a real good value play? I think we should get a value play at running back and then get the receivers down. If we're looking at running back and we want to save some money, I would say we have to go under 6. You got Cohen here, 59, is definitely a risk. You got Powell, is definitely a risk. We know that Cook is playing. We know that Latavius Murray is going to get very limited touches if this guy is playing. Marlon Mack is back for Indy, but it seems like Hines is the one who's been getting more of the touches as of late. You got Mr. Smith. He's going to get some touches other than Tevin Coleman. You got Nick Chubb, who's dangerous. Got Jordan Wilkins, Duke Johnson. I don't know if I want to go this far down. Carson, willing to pay up and get Carson. Carson is at 62, I believe, 61, 64. All right, Carson, we still got 6,900. Somebody said Hyde. Somebody said Mike Davis. If I'm going to go, Mike Davis is only $300 cheaper. I think Chris Carson is going to get more of the brunt of the work, in my opinion. So how about these 2 wide receiver spots? Should we get a value there? Let's go to wide receiver for a minute. We put Chris Carson in there. Right now, those 2 runners look pretty darn good. Connor and Carson. And then you got Julio Jones correlating with Mr. Matt Ryan. Should we get another Atlanta player? Should we target the high implied total games, which I would probably recommend? We can go into the Tampa-Atlanta game, or we can go to the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game. All right, Artful Dodger says that he believes Carson is going to be a dud this week. Now, somebody did mention earlier in the live show that there is going to be some serious win in London for that game against Seattle and Oakland. I think that also helps the run game there. Somebody says Jarvis Landry. We got Chester Rogers. Chester Rogers is fairly cheap. If you want to slot him in there right now, we can do that. You know he's going to get targets in his game versus the Jets. But I think he's one of those lower price receivers that's going to be maybe in that 30%, 35% ownership level, possibly tomorrow. That's considered a little high. It's not considered chalky to me, at least in my opinion. But some people may consider that chalky. 35% is, in a large slate like this, is nothing. We got Brown. We got Sanu. Rogers. We got Juju Smith. Boyd. Which one is it, guys? Are we still good with Carson and Connor up there in the running back spot? Lockett. I like Lockett. I like Brown. I like Chester Rogers. I like Juju Smith. I do like Boyd. I have all those guys that I pretty much mentioned in my videos this week. Callaway is my sleeper for Artful Dodger. Okay. Have him in 70% of my lineups. Wow. So Callaway, we have a vote there for Callaway from Artful. Rogers, Mixon, or Carson? Yeah, for me, it's definitely Mixon this week. I like Mixon and Connor the best this week, and Carson is my third guy. Anybody else? So a wide receiver, where we go? We're going to go and get that mid-tier play. So is it Rodgers we're looking at? If we throw Rodgers in there, we're going to have 7,600 left for one wideout and one flex play. If we don't take Rodgers, we're still back at 6,900. So which way? Tori says swap Carson for Yeldon or Lynch. Anybody in agreement with that? I mean, Marshawn Lynch in that little revenge game type of thing with his former mates. Sanu. Tough spot here. Sanu, Kike, I'm on Lynch. No, Sanu. So it seems like people are saying we had a couple guys say Sanu already. You guys want to go with Mohamed Sanu as one of the receivers? Let's throw him in there and see what this looks like. He's 5,800. That leaves us 7,500. We got Ridley now. Todd Gurley. Lynch. Anybody else want to make a change on Carson? Is everybody good with Connor? We had a lot of Connor when we asked about the RB1. So the RB2, you guys want to switch that? Okay, somebody doesn't like Carson. I would prefer Mixon over Connor. Wow. Okay. Keep Connor. How about jumping up and having Connor with Mixon? Anybody okay with that? If we take Carson out of there and we throw in Mixon, we're going to definitely take a nice chunk here. There'll be $7,000 left for a wide receiver, and we definitely need 2 possible receivers here. Because when you're thinking about the running backs at $7K, you could make TJ Yeldon a flex play here, who's going to get a lot of touches. Or you can go all the way down to Carlos Hyde or Marshawn Lynch if you want to use them in a flex. Yeah, we took him out. We took out Carson. So do you guys like Mixon? We still got $7K. Now, key question here. We got a one wide receiver left to go. Let's look and see what we have left under the $7,000, or at least under the $7,000 to start with. We got Jarvis Landry in a nice game here at home, 6,900. We got Cooper Kupp at Denver, 6,800, and we got Calvin Ridley at 6,700. I have no problem with any one of those 3 guys, and I would not have a problem moving up to Juju Smith-Schuster at 7,800. No, it's not. The flex point system is not different here. As far as the flex position, you can use any one of the running backs or receivers or tight ends. Kupp. Everybody's good with Kupp. Let's throw Cooper Kupp in there and see what that looks like. That's going to leave us 7,200 for a flex. Right now, that's looking like a pretty nice little lineup. Looking pretty good. Now, let's look at the flex for a moment. With $7,200, what can we do? TJ Yeldon, look at that. We could throw in there TJ Yeldon, who's going to get a lot of targets, or we could come down to Jarvis Landry at 6,900, or Ridley if you guys want it. Last spot, Yeldon, right? I think he's just going to get a lot of targets. It makes sense. On the flex, put another receiver. If we go another receiver, then the next best bet is right here, Jarvis Landry, and he's in a good spot as well. Now, Yeldon is putting in 15 fantasy points. Let's see how he's looked in the last 2 games. All right, he had 20 targets last week, put up 22 fantasy points. He's at 21 or better in 2 straight games. That's 6 points higher than his average. And then we got Jarvis Landry at 6,900 in a good game at home. He had 10 targets last week, 10 before that. He's been getting targeted, 34 targets in the last 3 games, and he has about 17, 18 receptions. His numbers are definitely lower. Right now, those numbers they favor TJ Yeldon a little bit. Let's throw in there Yeldon, man. There goes a nice little lineup that you can use in your millionaire. And the real sneaky play here in this game is Cleveland, the defense that can possibly get you 5 to 8 fantasy points, as well as they've been able to get some deflections and get some interceptions. And I think Sanu if he can get in the end zone once or twice, whew, could be pretty dangerous. And then you have Cameron Brate. If he gets in the end zone too, that could be the change. That could be the big difference here in this actual lineup. All right, so even if you don't use Devin, I have no problem with that. Let's say now, granted, you've seen a lineup there and you still had $100 left over, which is fine. You can always leave money on the table. I always say that. But let's see if we can find a sleeper play here. A sleeper play will probably be that somebody's not thinking of. I mean, listen, I know a lot of people always figure, hey, you know what? It's just you're trying to find somebody different, man. These lineups like this lineup is not a bad lineup. I mean, you know, I wasn't even thinking of a lineup like this. I wasn't thinking Sanu. I think it makes sense here in that high-scoring game against Tampa Bay and Atlanta. You could throw in there Sanu somehow. Cooper Kupp is definitely a nice play. I definitely like the combination of Connor and Mixon in that running back position. And then, of course, Matt Ryan at home is Matt Ryan at home. But, man, if you're looking for somebody really, really quiet, I mean, I would think nobody's going to be on Tyler Lockett. But then if there's a windy conditions over there in London, like someone said earlier, that's not going to be a good spot. Marshawn Lynch going up against his former mates, he's not going to be highly owned. I don't see him being owned higher, no more than 15 or 10%, 10 to 15%. So, I mean, there's everybody that's down here, there's nobody here that's going to be highly owned. The only one who might be the highest owned is the one person we put in there in that slot, and that was TJ Yeldon. I could see him being, 20% owned, 25%. Or even then, that's still enough to take down a big GPP. And if you're thinking of anybody who's out of the radar here, it's probably going to be Emmanuel Sanders against these Rams. I mean, if you're looking at that price point and him being able to put 15 fantasy points if he gets in the end zone and he has one of those games where he can get in the end zone once or twice, then he could be definitely a surprise play. John Brown, that's a good one. Somebody brought out John Brown. Absolutely. I love John Brown. He's all the way down here at 6,300. In that Tennessee game, you got $900 left over. You could mix them. You can improve the lineup if you want to. Sometimes I do stuff like this, and then I just start swinging things around as I see what I have left in salary. Can I improve the team or not? But John Brown, a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, those guys will be guys that they're not going to be highly owned at all. They're really under the radar. Even the Oakland guys like Amari Cooper would definitely be not someone people are thinking of this week. As well as, I mean, you still got Tyler Boyd down here at 6,300 to put in this lineup. I mean, which I would be willing to throw him in there as well. So there's a lot of value, man. We made a nice little lineup here, and there's you could do this lineup and change one or two guys, and you have your core. You could go with a core of Ryan, Connor, Mixon, Julio Jones, Cooper Kupp, and then just mix match the last two or three with a couple of different players. Yeah, we discussed Coleman. People did ask about Coleman earlier and Smith. I did say that Coleman's going to share that time. Smith is going to get some touches as well. But I'm not high on any of the Atlanta running backs this week, unless it was Devontae Freeman. Given that Tampa Bay, at least after 4 games, have done okay in run stopping, but they have given up quite a bit of fantasy points, which I would have been in favor more of Devontae Freeman in this lineup. But Tevin Coleman, yeah, he's that. These guys are in play. I saw as well as Smith in that matchup against Tampa Bay. I just think that game is going to be more of a pass-oriented game. So, yeah, there's a lot of guys, man. I mean, there's plenty of guys you could put here in this last flex spot. I mean, you got Doug Baldwin. He's going to be under the radar, man. He's coming back now. Jordan Reed, if all those injuries are going to pan out for Washington, he's going to be someone who's going to get a lot of targets. Then you got Tyler Boyd. I definitely love him in this game. You got John Brown. I love him in that game. And then you still got Chris Carson. You never know. He may have a great game. Then you got, a sleeper, really a good sleeper. He has Cooper. You got still Deshaun Jackson, who was one of my receivers this week that you can throw in this lineup. And then you got to consider one of the Denver players here, either Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders. I will go Emmanuel Sanders. Marshawn Lynch could be a very nice play here. So is Carlos Hyde. He's a good red zone guy. I mean, you could go down this list. Tyler Lockett has been locked down pretty good as of late with his connection with Russell Wilson. But up here at the top, man, yeah, you got Landry, you got Ridley, you got Sanders. And out of those three, probably the one that will be probably only like less than 3% owned is probably going to be Sanders. And you know, yeah, I mean, it's you got any choice here, man. You can do this lineup and you can just change one or two guys, and you got a couple of nice core players. So, but that's pretty much it, man. I'm gonna wrap it up here. But you got a couple of lineups there, man. I'm gonna go and take a break, eat some food, and I'm gonna get back to this in about another hour. Take an hour break from the computer, and I'm gonna get back in here and crunch down my last few plays for tomorrow. So that's where I'm at, guys, man. I think that was pretty cool. Us just getting together here and start talking about putting a lineup together. Maybe we'll do that every weekend, and this way you have a gauge. If you want to play this lineup, you go ahead and play it. I think because we're doing it together as a group, I'm willing to at least put this lineup in a 100-player tournament, you know, and play it also in one of the if there's any room left in the one of the $200 or $300 entry. I mean, $2 or $3 entry GPPs. I'll definitely take a stab at it. All right, Devin, what all the guys, just before I leave, Devin is bringing that up regarding the DFS Zone tournament for tomorrow. 20-player, $2 entry. I think 5 or 6 people said they were interested, or I think we got it to as high as 8. If you're still here and I know some of you guys, I still have your information from WNBA when we was doing them in WNBA. If you did not do WNBA with me and you want to you want to do the $2 entry, the DFS Zone NFL tournament for tomorrow, I think it's like $18 for first place. It's just a good way to have some fun. Some people could use it. They use the money to build up their bankroll. So if anybody's interested in that, what I would like you to do is put on the comment section here. Just text it in the comment section right here in the chat box. Tell me what is your well, actually, I'll leave the chat box the way it is. Everybody's name that's on here, that's the way your gamer tag is. If not, leave your gamer tag, and then I'll be able to just find you in the FanDuel search when I do the tournament. And then I'll give you an invite, and you got all the way until before 1 o'clock tomorrow to register the $2. So 12 people are down. If I do a 12-player tournament, then that's great. Again, I know I got your information, Devin, and I think I have a few of the others. But anybody else that is interested in the tournament and you want me to send you an invite, just give me your gamer tag, put it on the chat box here, and then when I close out, I'll still have the chat box open, and I'll be able to just set it up later on. Okay, Neely plays only on DK. All right, Neely, sorry to hear that, buddy. Maybe you need to open up an account on FanDuel too. You could play on both. Cap 1218, thanks. Okay, Chris, great. I'll definitely send you an invite. T Mitch 789, good. George, no problem, man. I appreciate that. Hey, you know, I mean, thanks. It's Devin. Devin is the one who's always promoting it, man. So Devin is my man here. You know, he says, hey, let's do another tournament like WNBA. No problem for me. It takes only a few moments to set it up, and then what I'll do is I'll send those invites. Cool. All right, thank you, Artful. I'll send you an invite, man. So everybody's good with a $2 entry, right? Nobody wants to do anything higher than that. Nobody wants to do like a $5 entry. $2 is fine for the first week, and if we like it and everybody enjoys it, maybe we can do. We'll go up to $5 the following week. No space. Ridley. Debo. All right, I got a number. I got like 4 or 5 names here already. Plus, I have already a list from WNBA. I'm gonna send it out to everybody that I have. And the first 12. We're gonna try to do 20. I'll do 12. I'll do a 12 player. $2 is good. All right, so it'll be a $2 entry. $2 entry, and the top 3 win the cash. You know, it's I think 18, and then it gets dispersed. I think 18, whatever it is, 18 and 8 and 4. I don't know what it is, something like that. All right. All right, guys, man. That's pretty much it, man. I've been on here for about 2 hours already. I'm starting to get a freaking headache. My eyes hurt. I need to eat something and drink some water. But again, guys, good luck tomorrow, man. Thanks for coming out. Listen, if you have not dropped a like on the live show and you really enjoy this stuff, man, I appreciate you guys drop a like. And if you're the first time here and you want to be able to get some information and be able to, and you enjoy the live shows, just chit-chatting and discussing a slate and just picking each other's brains, I love doing it. I'm going to be doing it at least 3 or 4 times a week for the NBA as well, an hour before lock like I used to do with the WNBA. So I look forward to that. Very busy, but I enjoy it, man. I'm doing something that I enjoy. So hopefully you guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. I appreciate it. And then put on those post notifications. This way you don't miss out on any of the live shows as well as any of the videos. All right, guys? But with that, man, I wish you guys a good Saturday night. A lot of luck tomorrow. Hopefully you guys make some money. If you have any questions for me, anything, you can just always hit me up on the YouTube thing. You can hit me on Twitter. You can hit me up. All that information is in the description box below. So, I mean, you can definitely reach me there, and I'll do the best I can. I always try to answer everybody's questions. Anybody's asking me standard league or whatever, they're not sure about a player between 2 players. I try to give you the best possible advice, and basically that's it. That's just me. All right, guys. Good night, man. James. Thank you, James. Thanks. I appreciate you being here. First time here. Great, man. Welcome, and I hope you become a subscriber and come down and enjoy the show on a regular basis. And if you play NBA, DFS, definitely, come back for those shows as well. All right, guys. I wish everybody a lot of luck, man. Good night. Enjoy your Saturday night. All right. Again, one more time before I leave, everybody that's interested in the 12 or the 20 player DFS Zone NFL tournament for tomorrow, just put your gamer tag on the screen here, and I'll save the text box. And after I finish eating something and I get a little bit away from the computer, I'll come back and I will set up that, and you'll get those invitations in the next hour or so, or 2 hours. Okay? All right. Everybody be good. Bye.